Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewire to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewire to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am, as always, super thrilled, excited, and eager to be jumping on the microphone with you all for episode number 94. If you can hear some rumbling in the background, there is snowblowers going everywhere around me. We got a massive amount of snow today. I've been trying to time my recording for when there isn't any noise outside, but it seems to be pretty much impossible today. So I truly hope that I'm able to echo and muffle my sound as best as possible so you're not picking up on that feedback. If you are, I do apologize, but as always, momentum over everything. We have to keep going. We have to record. And so here we are. And I am thrilled to be jumping on and talking about today's topic. Today's topic is one that I've seen in a couple different avenues of my life lately. I've been feeling, I know some of my family members have been feeling, and not that I hope you're feeling this way, but I hope that you're able to grasp something that you're able to take away. And so for today, we're going to be chatting about, do you need more connection? And by that, I mean, do you need more connection to other human beings, to other people? So a couple reasons that this came up for me was because I've personally, been very deeply feeling this. So for those of you who don't know, I work from home, I would say 60% of the time, 40% of the time, I go into my job into the schools, or maybe 50-50 actually. But outside of that, a lot of my job is spent working from home. Outside of my 9 to 5, I do it fully from my computer, fully in my office. And so I am at home a lot of the times. And so even if I am out all day for my other job, by the time I get home, I am stuck in my office. I love to be here, but I am stuck in here by myself for hours on hours, sometimes days on days. And I often forget about the importance of connection with an actual human being. I get to see my partner every day, which is amazing, and I'm so thankful for that. But I'm really starting to feel the impact of not really having that community connection like I used to have when I was living in Alberta. And I've had a hard time establishing that where I am now, which is in New Brunswick. And a large part of that is because there is a lot of folks that I feel I can connect with if I want to, but a lot of them weren't in alignment with my life. And so I knew that anytime I would hang around with them, I'd feel worse after than if I had just left hanging out with myself. And so I've kind of just gotten into this very toxic cycle of isolating myself and of keeping myself alone. And I will just say that I love being alone. I love being around other people, but I also love my alone time. It is how I recharge. It is when I'm the most productive. I am definitely someone who is very easily overstimulated. And when I'm around a lot of people for too long, I just shut down. I am very much a people person. I love people. When I'm around people, I try my best to have the highest energy, to raise the vibe, to just be the energy that people want to be around. But I'm realizing more and more lately how much I'm having anxiety that I never used to have. I'm having uncertainty that I never used to have. And I think it comes back to the pandemic, which brings me into my second point on why this topic arose. And I'll circle back to that in a minute. But basically, my 9 to 5, we attended this conference, and it was based off of this book called The Connected Community. And it's basically all about the importance of neighborhoods and communities and establishing connection within where you live. often when people ask where we live, we'll say like the area or we'll maybe say the street name, but we rarely are able to say, what our community is based around, what it's good for, what it's known for. Like, we really have a hard time getting those deeper things. And we view our community as just like a place that we live instead of that connected feeling. And so again, it brought up thoughts of connection, community, those things that I've been already feeling subconsciously and in my heart, but I've kind of been pushing aside. And coming back to the pandemic piece, they basically referred to what we're feeling right now as a COVID hangover. And that stuck out to me big time when they said that, because Jessie pre-pandemic was definitely much more social. I was involved in volleyball groups and basketball groups and going to different events, and my job was all over the place, and I would have to travel for work, and I would have to literally fly to places every other Thursday for my work, and I was seeing clients every day, and it was just much more community based. And then prior to that, I was always on sports teams. I was in college. Like, I was just always around people. And ever since the pandemic, and I think that this is affecting all of us, or at least a lot of us, we're having a hard time with that connection piece. And I was having a conversation with my mom, and I don't think she'd mind me sharing this. I hope she doesn't. But we're both feeling the same way. And we kind of like echoed back and forth to each other of, how we love our alone time, but that we know we need that connection. And I'm so thankful that I have her, that I can have her as that person to go and do things with, or to explore with, to do activities with, because there's no person, honestly, I'd rather hang out with than my mom and my grandmother. They are two of my absolute favorite people in the whole world. But we both still just had this common feeling within us that we're needing more connection. We're needing to feel that. And so this made me curious to go and do some research, to learn more about the psychology behind it, the psychology behind our needs as human beings. And of course, lo and behold, of course, it's true that we're wired for connection. If you think back, like ancestrally, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, if we didn't have each other, we would have not survived as a species. We needed to have each other. We needed to unite. And we've kind of lost touch with that because of resources, because of technology, because things are so accessible. And we're forgetting that we're still hardwired the same way. And so I do think that that is having psychological effects on us, negative effects, because we need that regardless of what we seem to tell ourselves. Neuroscientists basically suggest that we are neurologically wired to connect with others. Mirror neurons in the brain are stimulated when we're interacting with other people. And if you've never heard the term mirror neurons before, totally okay. I had never heard it prior to me being in a counseling role. And so basically mirror neurons are when neurons respond to actions that we observe in others. Without them, we would likely be blind to the actions, intentions, and emotions of other people. So basically what this means is when I walk into a room and I sit down and I talk to somebody and they're crying, I'm not going to walk in and have like super, super high energy and say, hey, what's going on? You mirror what their emotion is. You're seeing what that person in front of you is doing. And a really silly example of this is me and my partner, Mike, every time we notice one another slouching, we'll say, hey, you're slouching, like roll your shoulders back, because we want to be mindful of it. But I've noticed over time that every time I notice myself, I'll roll my shoulders back into place. And because he's watching me, he'll subconsciously do the same thing without even realizing that he's doing it. That is a mirror neuron. That is basically, it's basically a mirror to the person that's in front of you. So I remember back in my therapy sessions, I would take a deep breath if I was noticing that maybe they were holding their breath. They would then do it without even realizing that they were doing it. We are hardwired to do that because that's how we connect with each other. It's how we relate to each other. And as I just mentioned, without having that, we would basically be very lost and blind to the intentions and emotions of other people. So we would really misread a room. We would misread someone's intentions, misread someone's facial expression, and we could really walk into a situation and act in a way that's different than appropriate. And so mirror neurons are there to help us be able to engage with other people. And so that is exactly what happens when we connect with other people, is that our mirror neurons are firing. We're trying to connect with them. When you're talking to someone, pathways in your brain light up to mirror the emotions and behaviors that the other person is conveying. We are hardwired to interact and to connect with other people. And although I knew all of this prior to doing digging, I really just needed to almost prove it to myself to like just make sure, because we have all the reasons in the world right now not to connect. 99% of my meetings are on Zoom. All of my coaching calls are on Zoom. Everything in my calendar is on the computer. Everything that I could need to do, I could do from my phone or from my computer. So we're really not forced in a way to go and interact. Even our groceries, I can click buttons on my phone and go pick it up and never interact with a human. I want something from Amazon, I need something, boom, click of a button, it shows up at my door. We have such necessity to things now that we've lost touch with the significance and the importance of connection. And so my goal of today's episode is for you to leave and ask yourself, do I need more connection in some way, shape, or form? And I'm not saying in any way we need to go out every day or every weekend or whatever it is and go hang around people. No, there's an optimal stopping point to all of this. We have to do what is in alignment for us and is best suited for us. My goal is for you to begin to ask yourself if you've become too comfortable just with yourself. Have you isolated yourself without even realizing it? And do you think it might be affecting you more than you're realizing? One other thing that came up when I was kind of thinking about today's topic, and it took a long time. Today's topic was honestly one that I probably spent the most time pondering what I wanted to talk about, which isn't really common for me. I usually think of an idea, I jot down a couple points, and then I just fire it off once I have my intention. But today's really stumped me because at the same time, I want to learn as well. I want to lead by example as well. And I know that I need more connection. And so this brought up for me, and I've talked about this before, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's basically a pyramid of needs that explains humans' motivation based on the pursuit of different levels of needs. So you have like these 5 tiers of things that all of us as human beings need to be quote unquote successful, our best self, to be most optimal human beings. So basically it starts with the bottom one, which is physiological safety. We need to physiologically feel safe in order to build on the other pyramids. So that just means air, water, food, shelter, clothing, sleep, reproduction, etc. That's like our baseline needs that we have. The second is safety needs, which is personal security, employment, resources, health. The third tier is love and belonging. So that's that connection piece, friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection. Number 4 is esteem. So respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, freedom. And then last but not least, the top is self-actualization. So that's basically your desire to become the most that one can be. And so if you think about what I just said, the first one being physiological safety, the second one being safety needs, the third one being love and belonging, the fourth being esteem, and the fifth being self-actualization, you can see that middle one is that connection piece. And as I was sitting with this, I'm like, that can't actually be true. To me, I'm like, is that really, yes, obviously we need air and food and water as our baseline, but I'm like, do I believe that connection is actually higher on this or lower on this, depending on which way you want to look at it? Do I think it's actually of more significance? And I was like, I kind of do. I kind of do think that it is, because that is indeed how we have been hardwired. And so I did some more research. Turns out somebody else thought the same thing. So neuroscientist Dr. Matthew Lieberman, director of UCLA's Social Cognitive Neuroscience Lab, has declared much of his life to understanding how the human brain relates in social context. And he argues that people need to connect with others is even more basic than food and shelter and is the primary motivation of one's behavior. Interesting. When I read that, I was like, boom, okay, I need to go share this. I need my listeners to understand how important that connection piece is. And so why do I share this with you? You're probably sitting there like, okay, great. Why are you sharing all this? I'm sharing all this with you because we all live different lives and have different social lives. We all have different community, different amounts of people around us, different levels of supports. Our lives are all So, so, so different. But my goal is to stress the importance that significant, loving, trusting relationships hold on us, the impact in which they hold on our lives. If you think of the opposite of connection, the opposite of that, you have loneliness. Loneliness is on the other side of that. And loneliness develops not from being alone, but from inadequate, intimate connections with other people. Loneliness is the flip side of that. And I think that since the pandemic, we have entered a world, again, where relationships with others has become a choice. And so we've almost been forced in a way to feel lonely. And anytime we feel lonely, or anytime I know I've felt lonely, you feel helpless, you feel worthless, you feel isolated, you don't really care, you kind of give up on yourself. Loneliness is one of the most toxic, hard feelings for human beings to have. And so we need to begin to recognize how much time are we spending feeling lonely. Because if I didn't have Mike in my life and my brother and sister-in-law and nephew below me, and I was just doing the work that I was doing, I would feel extremely lonely. And I honestly don't know if I could be as productive and well off as I am. So I take that away and I ask myself, do I think I need more than that? And a part of me is still going, yes, we all need a sense of belonging, is really what that sense of connection means. Because there's also no point of just having these friendships and relationships that make us feel like crap, that don't empower us, that aren't in alignment. So we have to make sure we're surrounding ourselves with the right people. And so that can be a really tricky thing when we're at a place where we're in a society that's harder than ever to meet friends, harder than ever to meet people. And if we're in that spot where you're sitting there asking yourself, I do want more connection, but I have no idea where to even start. One thing that I am going to do, and normally I have like these huge takeaways for you guys, but I can't sit here and share these points with you and share these tips and tricks with you guys if I am not implementing them myself. I don't think that is right, and that is not the example that I want to lead by. So something that I am going to start to do, there's a couple things I'm going to start to do. The first thing for me is I'm going to try to intentionally every single day message at least one person that I think is in alignment on social media. The reason for this is because it does leak into my coaching, it leaks into my podcast, it leaks into other things, but I could also stumble upon a really, really genuine, good friendship, relationship that I didn't even know existed. And so that is one thing I'm going to do. The second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to join some kind of club. So a great way that you can begin to start working on your community is to start with your core values. Start with the things that you care about. If you really want to manifest, align, work towards, bring in relationships that are in alignment for you, it starts with yourself and of recognizing those things that you have interest in. So for me, things that are coming up is yoga, it's crafting, it's sports, it's podcasting, it's speaking, it's being creative. So I'm like, okay, how can I go on Facebook? Because there is a Facebook group for quite literally everything, and find a group of aligned, like-minded people that I can surround myself with. Another huge one, I love the moon, I love spirituality, I love anything woo-woo, anything like that, plants, anything in that regard. Make a huge, massive list of all the things that you love and adore. And see if there's any clubs or things around you in which you can begin to be a part of, you can show up to. So for me, I'm going to go back to my yoga studio, kind of take a look around, see if I can say hi to anybody, and just even being in the vibe of other yogis in that room just makes me feel connected, seen, heard, loved, appreciated, and it fills my cup without even speaking. Community is all, again, just about that sense of belonging. And so that is something that I'm going to try to do and implement into my life over the next month. I have already wrote it down for myself, and then I'm going to circle back to you guys in a couple weeks and just let you know how that's going. But the reason that I'm not going to give tangible ways to connect with other people today is because I am also struggling with this, and I'm doing my research and realizing the importance of this so I can share that with you so we can grow together. And bada boom, bada bing. The most obvious, important one that I want you guys to take away from this is if you're listening to this podcast episode, it's likely that this content, this episode, things that I'm sharing are in alignment for you. So we might likely be in alignment if you were tuning in today. And so if you are on the other end of that going, I wish that I could just connect, I am offering free 30-minute coaching calls with listeners of this show, with community members, to jump on Zoom. Or if you're local, we can do it in person, which would be even better. Have a coffee, share, get to know each other, and see if maybe working together would be optimal if you just want to connect. But I have to be able to speak my truth and to stay in alignment, and also carry myself accountable to be able to share and offer that with you guys. So if that is something that would be in alignment, I would absolutely love to connect. If you're a listener of the show, it's likely that we do have something in alignment. So I would love to talk about that. So I truly hope you guys enjoyed today's episode about why connection is so important and if we do need to connect more. I encourage you to just start with your circle. Start with things that you're interested. Try to put yourself out there. Try to just go to a cafe and look up and smile at someone. Try to make conversation with the person behind you in the grocery store. If you have to go pick up something or do something, try to be intentional about each and every individual that you interact with, because you never know how much that person might be needing that connection, or how much your heart and soul might also be needing that connection. So I truly hope you guys enjoyed today. I hope you know that you're so deserving to have loving, meaningful connections in your life, and optimally and most importantly, knowing that we need those to be the most amazing versions of ourselves. So all the love, you guys. Thank you so much. I look forward to chatting with you all next week. Bye, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at Jessie Brown 13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.